Alright guys, today we are going to be going over dot plots. Now we did just review last week how to look at dot plots in a single setting, meaning it's just one dot plot to look at. So this is an image of one that you may have seen where we have our title at the top. The title tells us that this particular survey is talking about kids who read books, and that the bottom is how many books each kiddo read. Now each dot in this particular graph or this dot plot is going to represent one student. So just to recap, that means we had 4 kids read no books last summer, and that ranges all the way up to the high of one kiddo read 9 books last summer. So remember that when we read these, we need to look for a key, find out how much each dot or image represents, and then the dots above the number represent the people that were surveyed. All right, so we're going to be looking at this data set here. We see that we have exercise in number of hours, and then we have video games in the number of hours. So when we look at the exercise information, we first need to find what number is the least, what comes up the least often. Well, the lowest number we have is 0. So the least often in this particular data set for exercise is one person selected 0 hours of exercise. Then we look for the greatest, the highest part of the range. Well, when we look at 14, it's on here, but there's no one there, so we can't say 14 is the highest end. The one with dots above it is 12, and we see that there are 2 dots. So that means 2 people selected 12 at the higher end. So the range is from 12 to 0, so 12 minus 0 is 12. The next thing we can look for is our mode, what comes up the most often. Well, which dots are stacked the highest? We see that we have 1 and 2. So those are both the modes for the exercise. It comes up the most often. The next piece that we're going to look at the exercise is the median. Which number is the middle? So when we find the middle, we're going to do the crossing out of a high and a low. So I'm going to cross out 1 and 1, and then 1 and 1. So 2 here, 2 here. 1, 1, 1, and 1. So what happens is we end up with a data piece at 2 and a data piece at 3. So to find the median, you do 3 plus 2 is 5, and then you're going to divide that by 2. So our median for this data set is going to be 2.5. Then we come down here to exercise. Let's look at exercise. Exercise, our lowest point is also 0. One person says they spend 0 hours playing video games. But then we have to look over at the high end. We have 14 is the highest number, and there is someone there. One person spends 14 hours playing video games. So the range is from 14 to 0, so 14 minus 0 is 14. The range of the video games is 14. Well, which one's the most often? Which is the mode? Well, you have a couple of them here. We have 6. Oops, sorry about that. We have 6, 8, 9, 11, and 12 all coming up the same amount. So they're all the modes. Now we need to find the median. That's that crossing off of the high and the lows. I'm going to cross off 1 high and then 1 low. And I have 2 here and 2 here. I'm going to go with 3 and 3. Well, I can see that 9 comes up as my middle number. So my median for the video games is 9. So the middle amount of time spent on video games is 9 hours. The middle part spent on exercise is 2.5. So the questions that would be raised would be, is there a higher range for exercise than video games? Well, when we look, exercise is 12 to 0. And then video games is 12 to 14. So there's a higher range for video games. When they compare these dot plots, they may also ask you a question or make a statement as true or false. The median for exercise is greater than the median for video games. Well, median, that was this number right here. Is this number greater than this number? No. So the questions asked when we compare dot plots are asking you to look at all those components: mode, median, range, and mean. Going to the next slide. In this data set, we're going to compare 2 classes. So look at class 1. Let's find the high and the low in class 1. The lowest score in class 1 is 82. There's 2 kiddos who scored an 82. The high, there's no one at 100, but there is a 98. So the range is from 98 to 82. Which one comes up the most often for the mode? Which has the tallest pile of dots? 86. This is going to be our mode most often. So we have range, mode. Now let's find our median, that middle number. So we're going to cancel out 2 and 2, and then we're going to go 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So this ends up being our middle set here, is that in between 87 and 88. So what's in between 87 and 88? 87.5 is the median for class 1. Let's do the same thing. Class 2. What was the least? What was the greatest? What information came up the most often? And what's the middle? So the least, we have something less than 82. So that might be an 81. What's the greatest? We have 3 kids who got 100. So that one has a range from 100 down to about 81. The most often, the highest tower is 90. Then we need to find our middle number. So we're going to cross those out until we find the number that shows up in the middle. So we have 90 being our median here. So in this case, we might be asked, is the mode of class 1 greater than the mode of class 2? Well, the mode in class 1 was 86. The mode in class 2 was 90. So that would be false. Once again, when we're comparing 2 data sets with dot plots, we're going to be looking for the trues and the falses of the different data pieces. Here's the last one that we're going to look at. We're going to look at shooting baskets or points scored on a football game from Daniel and Sam. We go through the same things, the low and the high. The low for Daniel is 8. The high for Daniel is a 24. He scored each of those 1 time. What is the highest? The most. The highest stack of dots. 16. His mode is 16. So his range is from 24 to 8. His mode is 16. We also need to find his median, his middle number. So we're going to cross out top to bottoms and see that 16 is also his median. When we look at Daniel, or Sam, looking at the range, don't be fooled with that 2. There's no dots on either one of those at a 2, but he has 4 for his low end. He didn't score a 24. The highest amount he's ever scored is a 20. So his range is from 4 to 20. His mode, the one that comes up the most often, is 12. And then once again, we need to find that median, that middle number. So we're going to cross out. And his median happens to be 12. The questions asked might be, does Daniel have a greater range than Sam? So to find the range, you would do 24 minus 8, and then you would be doing 20 minus 4 and find out if it was greater or not. You're going to be doing some questions on these in just a few moments. Come back to this video at any time if you have questions or are unsure of what you're doing.